Man, Evil West, what a bloody video game. Like, literally, but also, wow. I really enjoyed this one. In a time where every single game has an enormous open world filled with quests, grinds, activities, or a remarkable jaw-dropping one like the more recently released Tears of the Kingdom. This game reminds me of the severe lack of straight-up linear action games. See, this is the problem. Developers and publishers these days, it feels like they have an obligation. 30-hour story, open world, just to justify the price. Evil West retailed at $43.99, and I am thrilled that in a gaming landscape of today, that we can still get an 8 to 10 hour campaign with no fluff, pure spectacle, and a complete experience. To really dumb down what this is on paper, imagine Batman Arkham, Red Dead Redemption, and God of War all conceived a AA child. That is Evil West. It takes the beatdown system of the Arkham games, the over-the-shoulder brutal combo combat of the rebooted God of War games, try saying that fast, and gives you the cowboy arsenal of Red Dead Redemption. But I actually think it would be unfair of me to leave it at that. This combat did feel fresh, nothing revolutionary, but I don't think it was trying to be one-to-one of any other game. It has its own unique identity. It doesn't try to reinvent the wheel, but I do think it makes its own modifications to it to stand out. So, you play as Jesse Rentier, son of William, who heads up the Rentier Institute, a secret institute which is focused solely on hunting monsters and in particular vampires. The game starts by effectively foiling a grand plan of a vampire named Debano, killing him and taking his head. You think the day's won, but what this actually is a revenge story led by Debano's daughter, Felicity, who sees you wipe out her dad in front of her, which is pretty brutal, leading to all-out warfare and a plot to completely take over. The story itself spans across a huge number of vistas and locations which have a mythic take on the western elements of the US. The story was fine, like it was okay. I appreciated the location variety, and also it looks unbelievable at times, both in detail and art design. Some of the highest praise that I can give is the environments here would fit in with that of a Bungie game, and I regard them as the standard setter when it comes to art design. The backdrops of some of these missions are just straight up unforgettable, and it does feel like a fresh take on some US states. The characters in the story, they feel a little bit one-dimensional, though it did get a few laughs out of me here and there, but if you're looking for an emotive, deeply invested plot, it doesn't take centre stage here, but it does do enough to keep you interested from start to finish, and by the end, I quite like some of these characters in the crew. The game can take anywhere between 8 hours, which is what it took for me, to an average completion of around 11 hours. I tend to finish games quicker than most, I don't know why, maybe I'm just good, who knows. The missions are pretty straightforward. You move from arena to arena with some downtime in between for using abilities to open up some side paths which allow you to open chests or pick up some money. Again, some people might criticize this and say it's simple, but I actually like that the game values your time. There's two types of chests to open. There's a smaller chest that rewards you with just money which you can upgrade your weapons with, or there's a second chest which is more rare and unique, which gives you either an exclusive perk that you can only unlock by opening that chest, or a cosmetic item which looks pretty cool, making essentially the exploration that little bit more rewarding. The exploration itself is simple. Power punch this chain, walk around this corner, nothing hard, but it felt rewarding to make it worthwhile. Some missions conclude with a boss fight, some just a larger encounter. There are some puzzles in the game though, again nothing overly complicated, but it does allow for some extended downtime in between the fighting in arena to arena. Which brings us to the meat of this game, the combat. The game creates a huge power fantasy. You start the game with these gauntlets which electrocute the smaller enemies, and you can perform an Arkham type beatdown before finishing them. As you progress you get more and more weapons and more items to use in your arsenal, and by the end you got the full kit, you feel unstoppable. Electricity is the aim of the game here. Stunning enemies to take max damage, larger enemies can only be stunned after you've enough damage to sustain that, or to use your ultimate stun ability. You also get an overdrive style ability which is essentially makes you attack like the Flash, zapping from enemy to enemy, really fun, I enjoyed that. The weapons themselves get upgrade paths to allow you to add electricity damage which not only feels great, it looks it as well. Visually, really impressive. The further you go through the story, the more weapons you get to add to your arsenal, and they come at a regular cadence, so progression feels quite good, never feels slow. The guns themselves have a nice punch to them and nice feedback. There's no ammo limitation or anything like that, just that your most powerful tools have a bit of a cooldown, which, depending on what damage you do, restocks it, and it feels balanced nicely. There's also a lot to be said on enemy variety here. I was really impressed. Not just vampires, but humans too. Ranged, close quarters, flying, shielded, brutes, there's a lot here, and they all have different unique weaknesses. Speaking of, some enemies will pop up with like a quick shot counter, which you can hit them with the rifle, and that has a visual and audio cue which allows you to counter, potentially dismembering either their most powerful ability or chopping off a really important limb. So satisfying from the first time we did it all the way through to the final mission, never got old. Really enjoyed that. It serves kind of like a parry, and yeah, again, really good. Also, the boss encounters here were excellent, for the most part anyway. There was one that I really didn't enjoy, but outside of that, I thought they were pretty outstanding. Not just the boss design, but the actual encounter areas were memorable too. Each boss felt distinct and unique, and the majority allowed you to either play aggressive or be a little bit more defensive and hit him on the counter. The penultimate boss, which again, no spoilers, was the peak one for me. A really memorable fight that will probably stay with me for quite a while. I played the game on normal, and the difficulty, it does ramp up towards the end, providing quite a challenge actually, though it very rarely feels unfair. It always felt like it was on me for messing up. There is a new game plus mode, which I think is probably needed since I didn't get anywhere near towards unlocking all the skill trees on my initial playthrough, even though I did pretty much all the side exploration here. So yeah, I think they probably intend for you to do this. There's actually the ability to play the entire thing in co-op, which is just so sick, and I can only imagine the amount of fun that you can have with a friend with this one. I really recommend playing through this with somebody else. The game itself ran well. I tested it on my 4090, on a 2060, and on the deck, and all of them ran well. I was able to get a consistent 60 on everything, with obviously settings and resolution dependent. This game, despite looking a shooter, actually plays really well on a controller thanks to some snazzy auto-assisted aim. So yeah, I actually think this is a really good Steam Deck experience if that is your preferred method of play. So yeah, Evil West is a game I can't recommend enough. It served to me like a palate cleanser. A straightforward single-player campaign that doesn't take liberties or bloat things out. It knows what it wants to be. Much like Guardians of the Galaxy by Eidos Montreal. But this one, it has a bit of that PlayStation 2 DNA that I love. A game you expected to like, but you didn't know it would be this much fun. A game that prioritises fun and gameplay over an emotional story, extreme graphics or intense realism. I'd love for us to get a sequel one day. I think there's an incredible foundation to be built on here. AA games do feel rare to come by, but I do think they're an important part of the industry that needs supporting in the same manner that indies do too. Truth is, sometimes you don't want a 50-hour campaign or a massive open world. Sometimes you just want to shoot some vampires, tear some limbs, and be Cowboy Batman. There's a fantastic experience waiting for you right here. Get it? Fang? Alright, let's leave it there, shall we?
I had hoped you'd make it more difficult.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button. It helps me out massively. I'd really appreciate it. Truth is, if you enjoy talking all things video games, sometimes AAA, sometimes AA, sometimes more niche, you're in the right place. So go ahead and subscribe. I've got you covered. Have a terrific day, and I'll catch you in the next one.